Blake Lively's legal battle just took a shocking twist, and now it unexpectedly drags Taylor Swift into the center of the storm, highlighting just how desperate Blake has become to maintain control over a case that is increasingly slipping through her fingers. The dispute with Justin Baldoni and Wayfarer Studios, which at first seemed like a routine contract disagreement, has evolved into a convoluted spectacle of subpoenas, secret chat messages, and courtroom debates over what evidence is admissible. Baldoni's team has largely followed the rules, sticking to the court's timelines and procedures, but Blake has repeatedly overreached, filing motions beyond what the court allows, spinning rulings into PR wins, and attempting to manipulate the narrative in her favor. Now, in a move that insiders say reeks of panic, Blake is challenging the inclusion of Taylor Swift as a witness. Wayfarer's lawyers revealed that Swift is scheduled for deposition in late October, just a few weeks past the discovery cutoff. At first glance, it might seem like a simple scheduling issue, but Blake's team immediately claimed this was a deliberate stunt to embarrass her, ignoring one critical detail. Court filings show that she herself had listed Taylor as a relevant witness months ago, making the pop star's involvement entirely Blake's own doing. The problem is control. Unlike her husband Ryan Reynolds, who happily plays along with their PR strategies, Taylor is neutral, and neutrality threatens Blake's ability to steer the narrative. If Swift's testimony contradicts Blake's version of events, it could fundamentally undermine her case from within. And if you thought this lawsuit was already messy, the latest legal maneuver demonstrates just how far Blake's team is willing to go to stall proceedings. With deposition deadlines set for September 30th, Blake suddenly requested a 20-day extension, claiming she was blindsided by Wayfarer delivering thousands of documents at the last minute. But court filings tell a different story. Blake had been aware of these materials for weeks, having successfully compelled Wayfarer to produce them back in August. By September 12th, she had received nearly everything except a small batch of Signal chat messages from executive Steve Sawitz. In other words, the so-called surprise was anything but, and she had already agreed to the deposition schedule knowing the documents were coming. The clear motive for this sudden objection is delay. By pushing back depositions, Blake gains time, buys herself breathing room, and attempts to manipulate court timing to her advantage. This latest development underscores the increasing desperation in Blake's legal strategy, revealing that her efforts to control the narrative may be spiraling out of her hands even as she tries to manage the fallout from a case growing more complicated and unpredictable by the day. Blake Lively's attempts to control the narrative in her ongoing legal battle with Justin Baldoni and Wayfarer Studios are increasingly unraveling. As the longer she drags out the case, the more opportunities she and Ryan Reynolds have to push a victim narrative in the press, attempting to cast Baldoni as the villain. While in the courtroom, the judge repeatedly shuts down her overreaches, cutting back subpoenas, denying fishing expeditions, and reminding her that privacy and procedural rules matter just as much as her theatrics. The latest development shows the lengths Blake is willing to go: the involvement of Taylor Swift. Wayfarer's lawyers revealed that Taylor is scheduled for deposition during the week of October 20th, just weeks past the discovery deadline, and Blake's team immediately cried foul, claiming the scheduling was a media stunt designed to embarrass her. But the court records tell a starkly different story. Blake herself had identified Taylor as a relevant witness months earlier in her initial disclosures, which means she is the reason Taylor is part of this case in the first place. Now, scrambling to maintain control, Blake is panicking because Taylor isn't part of her PR apparatus. Unlike her husband Ryan Reynolds, who plays along with her media strategy and can be counted on to parrot talking points, Taylor is neutral, unpressured, and cannot be scripted, making her a dangerous wild card in a case where every word under oath could influence the outcome. Taylor's lawyers have made it clear she never wanted to be involved voluntarily, but if subpoenaed, she will comply, meaning the court can compel her testimony despite Blake's attempts to block it. That possibility terrifies Blake because one honest statement from Taylor about what she observed, heard, or experienced could unravel Blake's credibility completely, undermining years of carefully curated public image. Meanwhile, Blake's excuse for delaying depositions, a sudden flood of documents from Wayfarer, is also falling apart. Court filings confirm she was aware of nearly all the materials weeks in advance, including after having successfully compelled the production of additional documents in August, with only a minor batch of signal chat messages from Executive Steve Sawitz outstanding by mid-September. Yet Blake demanded a 20-day extension, claiming surprise, an attempt to run out the clock and control timing, while Wayfair requested only minor adjustments to accommodate Taylor's deposition. The judge is now faced with deciding who deserves leniency. Historical rulings indicate Blake is unlikely to receive generous treatment. Her repeated overreach, fishing expeditions, and attempts to spin court proceedings into PR victories have already been curtailed multiple times, whereas Wayfair has consistently acted within procedural limits, with clear evidence supporting its requests. The most probable outcome is a compromise. Blake may receive minimal time to review outstanding chat messages, but the court will almost certainly reject her request for a full 20-day extension and allow Taylor Swift's deposition to proceed, because denying it could later be overturned on appeal, and because Blake herself designated Taylor as relevant and has already been ordered to produce communications with her. This scenario places Blake and Ryan in an increasingly precarious position, as their carefully crafted brand, Hollywood's golden couple, witty, glamorous, untouchable, is at risk, and one neutral witness could blow it apart. Taylor represents a rare figure outside their influence, not beholden to their media machine, and capable of providing testimony that could contradict their version of events, exposing inconsistencies and manipulations. Blake's obsession with control, her frantic attempts to manage deadlines, documents, and public perception, now collide with the court's insistence on procedure and truth. The longer she delays and manipulates, the more obvious it becomes that her legal maneuvers are less about seeking justice and more about escaping accountability. Meanwhile, Justin Baldoni continues his disciplined, quiet approach, attending court, following rules, and letting facts speak for him, a stark contrast to Blake's flailing strategies. The presence of Taylor Swift elevates the stakes dramatically. She cannot be spun, pressured, or predicted, and her potential testimony could fundamentally disrupt Blake's narrative, showing that even stars with immense influence and PR resources are vulnerable when faced with neutral, honest witnesses and a court unwilling to indulge theatrics. With deadlines approaching, depositions imminent, and Taylor prepared to testify if required, Blake Lively's carefully maintained facade is on the verge of cracking, her narrative of control and dominance over both media and legal proceedings threatened, while the reality grows increasingly clear. In this high-profile battle, neutrality, integrity, and adherence to the facts may prove far more powerful than fame, influence, or attempts at manipulation, and Blake and Ryan's carefully constructed public image could be permanently altered by the unfolding courtroom revelations. Taylor Swift's independence in the Blake Lively legal drama is proving to be a game-changer, and it's exactly what makes her testimony so dangerous for Blake. If Taylor walks into her deposition and provides honest, neutral answers, she could dismantle Blake's credibility in a single afternoon. Consider the context. Blake has spent months framing this lawsuit as a noble battle for justice, with Ryan Reynolds cast as the supportive husband cheering her on, yet Taylor was there for the behind-the-scenes drama, from rooftop arguments to discussions about hiring Isabella, and she has no vested interest in supporting Blake's narrative. Previously, Blake flaunted Taylor's influence as if it bolstered her position, but now Taylor refusing to take sides undermines that very claim. If Taylor contradicts Blake's version of events, the foundation of the lawsuit crumbles, and given Taylor's global platform and untarnished reputation, even one neutral statement could go viral, exposing Blake not as a victim but as someone manipulating friends and allies to support her agenda. Ryan Reynolds is well aware of this risk, which explains the couple's desperate attempts to keep Taylor out of court. But the law doesn't bend to celebrity PR strategies. Taylor is already on the witness list, and her eventual testimony could shatter Blake and Ryan's carefully maintained public image. Meanwhile, Blake and Ryan are waging a full-scale PR war, where every motion, every delay, and every strategically leaked story is designed to spin the narrative in their favor and portray them as underdogs, while the courtroom tells a different story. In reality, Blake has repeatedly overstepped her legal bounds, filing motion after motion demanding private information she wasn't entitled to, only to have judges narrow her subpoenas, deny her fishing expeditions, and warn her about overstepping privacy lines. Each attempt to manipulate the process has been rejected, while Justin Baldwin's team has followed the rules, submitting documents on time and focusing on relevant evidence. Outside the courtroom, Ryan Reynolds manages the PR machine, feeding selective sound bites to the media, painting Blake as a crusader, and masking her desperation to maintain control. And while that narrative resonates with fans, it has no bearing on legal proceedings. Judges care about filings, deadlines, and facts, not Instagram posts or red carpet appearances, and every time Blake cries foul, the record demonstrates she knew the deadlines and only requested extensions after realizing she was losing. The contrast between public perception and courtroom reality is stark. While headlines suggest Blake is fighting unfairly against a rigged system, the legal record shows a systematic series of defeats. And now, the case may reach a pivotal turning point with Taylor Swift's involvement, because she represents an unfiltered witness whose testimony could expose inconsistencies, contradict Blake's claims, and fundamentally alter the trajectory of the case. Despite all the PR theatrics, this legal battle is about facts, not image, and Taylor's potential deposition could be the moment that shifts everything, proving that no amount of fame, media manipulation, or careful branding can replace credibility in court. Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds may control the headlines for now, but in the eyes of the law, the truth, and Taylor Swift hold the ultimate power. Blake Lively has spent months carefully managing her public image, using every headline, social media post, and PR leak to paint herself as a fighter and a victim, but Taylor Swift is the wild card she cannot control, and that independence could completely upend the case. Taylor has made it clear through her lawyers that she wants no part in Blake's legal drama, claiming no material role in the situation, yet she has agreed that if subpoenaed, she will testify. That single statement is a game-changer because once Taylor is under oath, the courtroom does not care about PR narratives or loyalty. It cares about the truth. For Blake, the stakes are enormous. Court filings reveal that she herself listed Taylor as a relevant witness and previously bragged about Taylor's influence in certain production decisions. If Taylor contradicts her claims, Blake's credibility implodes. If Taylor confirms parts but adds details Blake wanted hidden, her case still collapses. It's a lose-lose scenario. While for Justin Baldoni and Wayfarer Studios, Taylor's testimony is pure advantage. They do not need her to side with them, only to tell the truth, and coming from someone of Taylor Swift's global stature, a single honest statement carries far more weight than any carefully crafted PR stunt. Meanwhile, Blake and Ryan Reynolds continue running the same strategy: delay, distract, and dominate headlines, hoping to control the narrative before the court sees the full picture. But the cracks are widening. Blake's team keeps requesting extensions, first for overbroad subpoenas, then late document production, and now to push Taylor Swift's deposition. Yet each time the judge grants minimal concessions while rejecting her overreach, making her appear less like a crusader and more like someone scrambling for time. Ryan Reynolds has turned his media presence into a defensive shield, using jokes, subtle digs, and strategically leaked stories to cast Justin Baldwin as the villain. But outside the media bubble, the court sees only the documents, which tell a very different story. They reveal overreaching motions, exaggerated claims, and manipulated timelines, while Taylor's legal team reinforces that she never agreed to participate voluntarily despite the scheduling proposals, exposing Blake's narrative as disingenuous. As the PR empire spins, the courtroom reality remains unvarnished. Blake is desperate, inconsistent, and vulnerable. Justin Baldwin's team, by contrast, continues quietly following procedure, providing evidence, meeting deadlines, and allowing the facts to speak for themselves. No social media charm, no leaks, no staged headlines can mask the truth etched in legal filings. Ultimately, Blake's strategy of stalling and spinning is reaching its breaking point. Taylor Swift's potential testimony looms as a decisive moment, threatening to dismantle Blake's case in one session, revealing her manipulations and inconsistencies, while Ryan's media influence cannot alter the courtroom reality. Blake Lively's legal empire is cracking, and the very tactics she has relied on for months, delay, distraction, and image control, may now accelerate her collapse. All eyes are on the judge, because his next decision could change everything, yet no matter which way he rules, Blake Lively is facing a lose-lose scenario. Option 1. The judge grants her 20-day extension. Sounds like a victory, but it's anything but. More time doesn't strengthen her case. It only delays the inevitable and highlights the weaknesses she's been desperately trying to hide. Every extra day she wins in court, she loses credibility in public perception. Observers start asking, if she's so confident, why does she need endless delays? Option 2. The judge denies Blake's request, but approves Wayfarer's limited extension for Taylor Swift's deposition. This is the nightmare scenario. Taylor testifies, tells the truth, and Blake's carefully crafted story crumbles. Even worse, the record will show that Blake herself placed Taylor on the witness list months ago, making her backtracking appear deceptive. Option 3. The judge splits the difference, a tactic he's used before. He may grant a few extra days to Blake while allowing Taylor to testify, but even here, Blake loses. The one thing she's fighting hardest to block, Taylor Swift's testimony, is almost certain to go forward. The bottom line is clear. The judge cannot risk an appeal by blocking a witness Blake herself deemed relevant. So whether it's tomorrow, next week, or in October, Taylor Swift is coming into this case, and Blake Lively's strategy of control, spin, and polished PR is on the verge of collapse. What began as a straightforward contract dispute has evolved into a high-stakes test of truth versus narrative, and the cracks in Blake and Ryan Reynolds' carefully constructed empire are finally visible. Justin Baldoni, by contrast, has remained steady, focused entirely on evidence and procedure. He hasn't needed headlines, viral tweets, or PR stunts. Every time Blake attempted to turn the case into a media circus, Justin's team brought it back to the facts, and the court has taken note. Piece by piece, Blake's story is unraveling, and what makes this moment especially dangerous is Taylor Swift. No amount of media spin or clever social posts can control her testimony. One neutral witness could dismantle months of Blake's narrative in a single afternoon. That's why she's fighting so hard to keep Taylor out, because deep down, Blake knows once the truth is revealed, there's nowhere left to hide. This isn't just a legal battle, it's a test of power, image, and the extremes a Hollywood couple will go to protect their brand. But the law doesn't bend for celebrity influence. With every desperate motion, every stalled deadline, Blake and Ryan appear less like wronged parties and more like the architects of their own undoing. The beginning of the end is here, and when the dust settles, it won't be Blake or Ryan standing tall. It will be Justin Baldoni, the one person who never needed spin to win. So, what do you think? Is Blake panicking because Taylor Swift could sink her case? Drop your thoughts in the comments, smash that like button, and subscribe so you don't miss the next bombshell in this unfolding Hollywood showdown.